the MV Sarraf today. It's a little coaster which is just sunk north of the world development, so we've not got far to go. It's only 9 nautical miles, so it'll just take us just over an hour to get there. Not been dived in a while by anyone that I know, but the Dubai voluntary dive team have asked me to go out and have a look just to see what the net situation is on there, and also we want to check what the conditions are like, because during construction of the world and the Palm Islands many years ago, it was affected by silt build-up and similar, but it was reported back in 2014 in one of the dive books that the wreck's recovering. So we're looking forward to go and have a look at her. A little bit on the wreck. She crashed with another vessel during a hailstorm in 1981. She was then towed into port, written off, and then 1986 she was bought by someone, I don't know who, and then sunk in the current position as an artificial reef and magnet for fish. So let's see. We'll be filming today, of course. Let's see what she's like. She does sit upright, which you know from my previous videos I always like. So yeah, next time you see me, we'll be on the Sarraf. We've just arrived and anchored on the Sarraf. You can see we've got a shot line at one end, we're anchored off the other end. She lies north-south, I believe, and that's what it looks like. In the distance we've got the world development, so she's not so far offshore in Dubai. Sea conditions look good, although there will be a strong current running today, as our tidal coefficient is in the 90s and we're just coming off low water on a rising tide. Well, we didn't dive. It was a bit of a disaster all round. It was one of the strongest currents I've ever seen in all my years in diving in the UAE. Steve the Badger jumped in. The current was so strong he had to grab hold of the line. The boatman thought that he was under control, went to pass him the Scuba. Steve wasn't focused on the Scuba, he was focused on just holding on. Next thing we know, Scuba's in the water, Scuba's gone. So we searched for the Scuba immediately. No luck, it was so strong. The Scuba Steve uses is just about neutrally buoyant. We looked for about 45 minutes, no joy. So we then decided to abort the dive. The current was so strong, when we were out looking with Scubas, we could not go against the current. We had to get the boat to come and pick us up. So, am I going to bring you footage of the Sarraf? For sure I am. For the next 2 dives, we dive the Sarraf. It's a lovely little wreck, lots of marine life. Visibility is never going to be great on this wreck, but it's fairly shallow, and I'd recommend anyone to go for a dive on it, but not a newly qualified open water. I would suggest that you should be advanced open water with a few dives under your belt, say 20 dives, and then you can probably handle whatever it throws at you, except on the occasion that there's a very strong current. So this is some footage from our first dive on the 23rd of August. It looks a lot better visibility than it was. That's thanks to the GoPro. Visibility at best was 3 meters towards the end of the dive, 2 for most of it. But having said that, there was lots of marine life, and it's a small wreck. It's got just 2 holds
you can swim round it very, very fast. So we were able to get quite a bit of footage to show the wreck. Here we're up near the bow. Where a lot of marine life is congregated. So you see there's holes in the decks, but overall the wreck's still in pretty good condition. She's not breaking down at all. So here we come off the bow and we're swimming towards the stern. I was pleasantly surprised with all the marine life on there, but that's not marine life, of course, that's my friend Stevie. So yeah, I'm just swimming along one of the holds here along the gunwale. Here we come up to the stern. You can penetrate this wreck, especially in the accommodation area. It's quite easy entry, and you'll see some footage from CB later on of inside the accommodation. It is possible to go in the engine room, but it's heavily silted, so even though you might think it's easy when you see the video, you would need to take the proper wreck diving precautions, rope off, go in, because you would be silted up very quickly. Here we are at the rudder, right at the bottom of the stern. That's Diane, Stevie's wife, part of our dive team. And here you can see the viz at its best. But having said that, on the Dubai coast we're used to viz like this. This is getting later in the dive, and we started to have a bit of current running, and the visibility improved a little bit. And really quite a lot of fish on it, more than I thought there would have been. See there, we're alongside the holds again. There's a big deck area between the two holds. We did see some queenfish dart in across here, but unfortunately I didn't capture them on the video. Gas cylinder upside down. Here we're inside the hold. You can see a lot of silt build up inside the hold. The fish don't like to go inside the hold much, really. I guess that's because there's nothing there for them to forage on or eat. Back outside along the gunwale again. There's Stevie coming in. He's probably just exited the wreck. This is in the rear hold. And I'm just seeing what's coming up there. Okay, here's some shots inside where Stevie kindly took some footage for me. You can see there's lots of areas you can do swim throughs and things. But again, this is a good shot there of how murky the viz was. Inside again there. The visibility, as usual, is always much better inside the wreck than outside. That's yours truly. That orange hood I wear is about 25 years old, and I like it because if I pop up off the wreck and miss the anchor line, the crew can definitely see me. Here's the steps that lead up to the wheelhouse and accommodation. Along the holds again. There's Diane saying hi. Hi Diane. Here we're on the bow. This is some footage from the 26th, the second dive when we were on there. The visibility was better that day, probably about 4 meters. Steve Jenks said the visibility is terrible. I said compared to the 3 days ago it's fantastic. There's some more footage. I just put the camera inside the doorway there, and back we're on the stern again. You can see the steps again that I showed earlier. Holes in the deck near the bow. You can really scoot around this wreck quite quickly, and if there's a current running you can just go into the holds and fin along. Quite an easy wreck to dive. I mean, she's only in 18 meters. Here we are at the stern. Sorry, we're at the bow again. So here we are at the bow. That's me filming, and then now we're back at the stern, back at the rudder. Badger took these. So as you can, and on the second dive we had shoals of fish coming around and over the wreck. That might have been because the visibility was a bit better and we could see them, or it might have just been the state of the tide at the time. On the second day we had no current whatsoever. On the first day we had a mild current on the wreck towards the end of the dive, which was completely different to the dive we had to abort. Lots and lots of marine life on the wreck. You can see here. So yeah, the visibility is not great, but I think the wreck has come back. I think you can see marine life has re-inhabited it. So the reports back in 2014 in the Explorer Dive Guide seem to be correct. So there we are again. That's inside one of the holds. There's some holes in it, and this is the way to the engine room, as you can see, heavily silted. In the description below I will give you the dates of the month based on the lunar calendar or the Islamic calendar when she should be okay to dive and you haven't got the risk of strong currents.